Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, where today I'm going to be talking about the 1999 animated family adventure, The Iron Giant. The film is set during the Cold War, when an object from space crashes into the ocean just off the coast of Maine, and then enters the forest near the town of Rockwell. The following night, 9-year-old resident of Rockwell, Hogarth Hughes, investigates the phenomenon and finds the object, a 50-foot tall alien robot which is attempting to eat the transmission lines of a local electrical substation. Hogarth is obviously initially pretty scared, but ultimately befriends the giant, finding him to be curious but not hostile in intent. When the robot eats railroad tracks in the path of an oncoming train, the train collides with him and derails. Hogarth leads the giant away from the area, discovering in the process that the giant can self-repair. While they're doing this, Hogarth shows the giant comic books and compares him to the hero Superman, because he's literally a man of steel. But of course this is the Cold War. UFOs and train derailments could be communist plots. Certainly, that's the worry of paranoid federal agent Kent Mansley, who arrives in Rockwell to investigate the strange goings-on. Mansley is determined to find the enemy and protect the United States. Of course, the problem with being determined to find the enemy is that when you find something unusual, you jump to the conclusion that it is hostile. Even as it becomes more and more clear to Hogarth and others that the giant means no harm, Mansley becomes more and more convinced that it must be destroyed in order to preserve the safety of the nation. Can Hogarth and the giant find a way to prevent Mansley's obsession from wreaking devastation to Rockwell? Well, watch the movie and find out. The Iron Giant was the directorial debut of Brad Bird. Bird, who also wrote the screenplay, is probably now best known for the Pixar films The Incredibles and Ratatouille, both of which were monster box office hits around the globe. Alas, while The Iron Giant enjoyed near-universal critical acclaim, it signally failed to find a popular audience. The film's box office takings were only about half its production costs. Now, there are several potential reasons contributing to the movie's commercial failure. It opened just a few months before the much-anticipated Toy Story 2, and it's quite possible that audiences were already looking forward to that film and therefore looked straight past this one. It was also traditionally animated in an era of ever-advancing CGI animation, and CGI being the hot newness or the new hotness. Did a traditionally animated film look old-fashioned? Perhaps. Was it even that the film was just a bit too smart, as the then president of Warner Brothers rather self-pityingly claimed? Well, it could be one of those things, or it could perhaps, have been something to do with Warner Brothers' complete failure to prepare a marketing strategy for the movie. Certainly, I think that may have played a part. Now, something that you will notice about all of those possible causes of failure, none of them are about the quality of the film, and that's because The Iron Giant is an excellent movie, entirely deserving of the same level of success as Bird's later films from Pixar. Really, there's little need for you to keep watching this video. Just go track down a DVD or a streaming service that has it and watch the film. But perhaps you want a little more context, in which case, I'm happy to oblige. So first off, traditionally animated or not, this movie looks great. Warner Brothers executives apparently stripped the film's budget to the bone, but you would not know it from the way the movie looks. The animation is smooth and crisp, and the character designs are excellent. All the major characters, which most definitely includes the Iron Giant himself, are both technically well executed and thematically on point. Hogarth's round-faced and genial in his look, visually as much a wholesome scamp as his actions depict. Kent Mansley, meanwhile, is long-faced and angular, a man of rigid lines who puts everything in boxes and rarely, if ever, takes them back out to re-examine them. It's also obvious that considerable thought has gone into how to depict particular events. Hogarth's first meeting with the giant, for instance, is an elegantly executed bit of silhouette work. The animators also got to have some fun. There are several clever little sight gags slipped into the movie for attentive viewers to enjoy. They're nice on a rewatch. You'll probably miss them the first time, because you'll be looking at everything else. Modern CGI animation looks amazing, and some truly excellent films have been made with it. But I do miss this kind of old-school, hand-drawn, traditional animation. Would like to see it make a return. Now, a lot of media has a problem with villainous struggle, villainous motivation. Why is the villain doing all of these terrible things? They must have a reason, right? Now, it's easy to have your bad guys be bad guys because they're bad guys who like to be bad, but that's not terribly realistic or nuanced. In real life, people more often do bad things because they've convinced themselves that they must or should than because they want to do wrong. Now, to be clear, they may come to this belief through very selfish thought processes. I deserve to be happy, and having more money will make me happy, so I shall steal some money, is an example of that. But there are also villains who stumble into their wicked ways to the best of intentions, and so it is here. Kurt Mansley firmly believes himself to be the hero of this story, even as we in the audience know he's the exact opposite. He genuinely wants to protect the United States and the free world from from what he believes to be a terrible threat. Mansley does not understand the giant, and because he fears it and what it might do, he wants to destroy it. To wait is too dangerous. We must strike first. Except, of course, that that's not the case at all, and in fact, to attack the giant is far more dangerous than to leave it be. The concept that working to understand those who are different to us is the most ethical and effective strategy is one that is alien to Mansley, but it's a message that's at the heart of the film, neatly connecting the villain and his motivations and failures to the whole narrative thrust of the movie. It's clever, thoughtful work. Now, if you're mainly familiar with more recently animated fare, this might not seem like a notable thing to you, but back in the 90s, there was a very strong correlation in popular perception that animated feature films were musicals. Disney released 12 non-Pixar animated films to cinemas during this decade, and only one was not a musical. Warner Brothers Animation, which made The Iron Giant, had released only 2 previously fully animated films, both which were musicals. So, if you add that together, 15 films, 2 weren't musicals. Now, I personally quite enjoy a musical, provided it has good songs, and in my opinion, most of the 90s Disney fare had some real bangers. But some people definitely hate it when characters burst into song and effectively monologue their own thoughts and feelings. If you're one of those people and you've been listening to this video thinking, oh, this is all great, but do they ruin it with singing? Then I'm pleased to be able to tell you that you can sit down and enjoy The Iron Giant without any trepidation. The film does use songs in its soundtrack, but they're incidental or background pieces such as you might see in any film, not performances by the main characters. Ultimately, if you've never seen The Iron Giant, you should track it down. It's a real treat and deserves your time and attention. Next time, a trio film from the 1930s, none of which have enough going on by themselves to justify a whole video, but each of which does have at least one thing worth talking about. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.